Hey, welcome back to YDG Cowboys. And of course, YDG stands for You're Doing Good Cowboys. Man, how have y'all been doing? How's everybody? Where have y'all been? A lot of things have been going on with our Cowboys. You've got free agency that we've done some things that I tell you what, we made some decisions and we made some moves this offseason and the first part of free agency that we have never made, we haven't made within, 15 years. But this is what, this video is not what we're talking about, the free agency. Not yet. We're going to come back to that, I promise you. We're talking about what Pickens need to do. And I knew that this was going to end up being an issue. I knew that we was going to drag this on. Now Jackson and Jigba is now signed, right? With the Seahawks, making him the top wide receiver paid in years. And deservingly so. But we're dealing with an agent by the name of David Mulugheta. This David Mulugheta, as you know, had an issue with the Cowboys before with the Micah Parsons issue that we had. And that's one of the reasons why Michael Parsons is not on our team, because of 1, Michael Parsons, 2, David Mulugheta, and 3, Jerry Jones. You have a cross between, as Jerry would say, he let his money get mad. In some cases, he should have. Well, let me just backtrack on what's going on. Then I'm going to get back to Pickens, okay? Then David Mulugheta, this is going to become full circle here. So, David Mulugheta is Michael Parsons' agent, and he's also George Pickens' agent. We couldn't come to terms on Michael Parsons, so we ended up trading him to Green Bay and received 2 first-round draft picks, which we gave up to one of our draft picks to the Jets to get Quinnen Williams. So now we've got 2 first-round draft picks this year, which is pick 12 and pick 20. Next year, we've got 1, which is in 27. Now, T. Higgins, the reason why I'm doing this show today is because Pickens need to take a page out of T. Higgins. T. Higgins, who's a wide receiver that plays for the Bengals. I'm sure you all know that. T. Higgins was also on the tag, and he was represented by David Mulugheta. David Mulugheta is the type of agent which tries to push the needle. He tries to go whatever the highest wide receiver like Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think it's $163 million, $40 million to guarantee. I think somewhere in there a year. I don't know. I have to go back and look at the numbers. Mulugheta now is going to probably want Pickens to be 43 to 44 million, which is insane. So T. Higgins was on the tag in Cincinnati. And of course, Cincinnati with Jamar Chase, and there's 2 top wide receivers, right? Or yes, there's 2 number 1 or 2 top wide receivers there on the Bengals team. But T. Higgins decided to part ways with David Mulugheta because David Mulugheta could never strike a deal. David Mulugheta, again, was being greedy. And sometimes you have to sit back and look. What is enough? What is more than enough? And if you are traded, where would you go? Is it worth it? Can you stay there, take the same amount, or $1 million less than the other wide receiver who's just as good as you are? As an example, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, take $1 million less or take the same actual pay. You don't have to break the bank, because you got to look at it this way. The Cowboys right now, if we continue to move the way we're moving, we're on the brink of something special. We've got a new defense coordinator. We all about getting all of our defensive players. Our scheme is going to be totally different. Our offense is already intact. We can use another running back, but our offense is already intact. So the defense, that's all we've been working on this offseason. And it's been looking really good. And again, I'm going to go over the free agencies that we picked up, because all three of them are starting caliber. With Thompson, Locke, and what's the other kid from that we got out of from the Rams? Another cornerback. I can't think. It's Kobe. I think it's his name. Yes. But I have to go back and look. But anyway, our defense is starting to shape up, especially our back end with our safeties, cornerbacks. So it's starting to look good. And I think we just signed somebody else not a few minutes ago who played on Seattle, and he also played with the Rams as well. So our back end is starting to look good. And that was our main problem last year, was our back end. I mean, it was atrocious. So we couldn't cover nobody. But anyway, T. Higgins ended up moving from David Mulugeta, parted ways. Ended up with Jamar Chase's agent. I think his name is Rocky or Carnex. I don't know. But that's who he's with now. Struck a deal, and he's still with the Bengals. Pickens might need, to be honest with you, take a page out of T. Higgins. He might need to move on from David Mulugeta. David Mulugeta is the type of guy, he's just, I don't know. He's just, now I'm not going to say he's greedy. He's doing what he's supposed to do, because what happens is every time he breaks the bank or he does well, he attracts other players. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you got to know when to fold him and know when to hold him. And you know how Jerry Jones is. Jerry Jones is the type of owner where, I don't say he holds grudges, but in his older age, you only as good as your word. And that's the way he thinks. And that's what happened with Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons, supposedly, they struck a deal, and I'm sure they did. Michael was acting as his own agent by going in Jerry Jones's boxes, going up in the tower, going places and speaking on behalf of his contract without his agent. Just giving you a quick backstory. They did discuss it without his agent, and Jerry would tell you himself he'd rather talk to the players before he talks to the agent. That's just the way he does business. But within that time, they struck a deal. And I'm sure they struck a deal. Doesn't matter if it was on a paper napkin or not. And then you're right, a contract is not a binding contract unless it's signed. But Jerry Jones is too old school. He doesn't play that game. If you're going to tell him you're going to do something, that's what he expects for you to do. And that's what happened with Michael Parsons. Now, when you back out of that deal, he doesn't trust you. Because from what I was told and from what sources have been said, that he took that deal to his agent and David Mulugeta and said, no deal. It's not on a binding contract, so what are we talking about here? We're just getting started. And that was at $40 million. That Jerry and Micah, who earlier said during that season, he doesn't have to break the bank. He just wants to help his team. And that's what happened with David Mulugeta. So now, moving forward, we're dealing with it again. George Pickens' agent is the same. So that's the problem. Now let's talk to you why you should keep George Pickens. Okay? George Pickens last year had 100 137 targets. With 93 catches, averaging about 15.4 yards per catch. And if you go back during the season, he almost looked unstoppable. Unstoppable. They bracketed, they sent safeties over, they doubled, they tried to press man coverage. There's nothing they could do with George Pickens. The only way you can probably frustrate George Pickens is by pissing him off. Personal fouls. Trying to get into his head. But a lot of the defenses couldn't do that. He kept his cool. He talked a lot of junk, and I greatly, and that's exactly what we need. We need that dog on offense. Not saying CD is that dog, but we need that. He helped push the needle last year. And if we just had a smidgen of defense, just a smidget, as Jerry Jones said in some press conference, if we could have played a lick of defense, we would have definitely been a playoff contender and probably a little bit more. So that's what we're working on now. So George Pickens deserves every bit of what CeeDee Lamb's gotten. And that's where they should pay him. I don't think he should get paid more than CeeDee Lamb. The reason why I say that is because they're on the same team. That's another conversation in itself if he wasn't on the same team. But George Pickens deserved to get paid. CeeDee Lamb, when he was in his top, when he had his top in 2023 and he had, 1,700 some yards? He had 181 targets. Now think about it. Now you do the math. He had 181 targets, CeeDee Lamb, in 2023. $181. Now I think he had 130 catches, but he only averaged 13 yards per. I have to go back and look at his catches. He had a lot of drops this past year. CD does get in the funk sometimes where he tends to drop the ball. That happens. But CeeDee Lamb is still a dog, and he's still one of the best top receivers in the league. But he does have the dropsies every now and then. George Pickens, I don't see that. But does George Pickens deserve to get paid more than CeeDee Lamb? No. And I understand the market is saying that he should, because now the market keeps going up every year. But if he's going to continue to be a Dallas Cowboy, there's ways. When you are a Dallas Cowboy, yes, there is a fishbowl. People are watching you. But there is extra additives that you do get by being America's team player. There is. I don't care what nobody says. And we know this. When you get jobs afterwards, you get all these doors that's going to open for you. It's just a lot of things that you will end up getting as being a Dallas Cowboy player. So, George Pickens does not deserve to get number one wide receiver pay. No, he does not. But he deserves to get at least top 5 or top 3 pay. But what I'm thinking, if we can stay around the same as CeeDee Lamb, we should be fine. Because CeeDee Lamb, last year, I think he was paid, he was the number one wide receiver in pay. So, now, the wide receiver that is getting that top pay is Jackson Smith-Njigba. And he should. He had 1,793 yards last year with 163 targets and 119 catches, averaging about 15 yards per catch like George Pickens. But he was targeted more. If George Pickens was targeted more, George Pickens would have had probably 18 to 19 to 2,000 yards. And we all know this because George Pickens, to me, he's hard to stop. He's big, he's athletic, he run after the catch, is angry, and he's very, very fast, and he's faster than what he looks and what he seems because of his height. So, guys, tell me what you think. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Sub, like, share, and subscribe. I meant to tell you that from the beginning, but I just had to get on here and tell you that George Pickens needs to take a page out of T. Higgins' books. If they can't get together, George, you don't want to get set off to purgatory. Some, I don't know, what other team or whatever the places that don't love you like us as we do as the Cowboys. So, get your agent in line. And if he doesn't want to work with Jerry, move on. Take a page out of T. Higgins. All right, guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. It's good talking to you. I hope everybody's safe. Sub on the way to 1,000. I will be back. We got so much to talk about. The draft is coming up. Would you take at 12 and 20? Or would you get rid of these 2 drafts and still go after Max Crosby? There's so much to talk about, guys. I can stay on here all night and talk. I'm telling you. All right, guys. Hope everybody's well. Take care. Talk to you soon. Peace.